gentlemen, allow me to respond first to the previous side of this house. They talked about common values and what society wants to generally accepted, let's say, values in society. Our response is this: there is no template for a generally accepted principle, because we believe that that kind of generally accepted thing, as what they contend, is also created by society. Remember that there are no gender roles in, let's say, in the past. It's still created by the society, and how in a patriarchal society, how male are more dominant is also created by the society. I'll try to pose a question on them. How can you have holistic formation if you isolate them in the illusion of gender roles? And we'll further explain to you on that manner. We say, next thing is that we say that they were the opening was too close-minded on what are the benefits and what can we have in the long term when we actually undermine these gender roles, and we erase the bias and we erase the notion on this among the people. Later, madam, in my speech, I'll try to nuance our side from the opening house, and I'll try to respond critically. First, our opening house talked about predetermined choices, equality issues, and the educational institution, and especially the state. In our speech, we'll focus more on how it impacts the external society, also the individual, and also the education institution, which plays an important role. We say that the beauty of our case is not just let's say in the household or simple principles, because we believe that this kind of issue extend to different sects of society. We'll try to materialize the shaping of mindsets in my speech and eradicate greater problems through lessening social tensions and eradicating the biases in gender issues. Yes, closing up.
Don't you think this will give parents more of an incentive to try and preserve those values through, say, using emotional blackmail, telling their kids what they can and can't do?
Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen, when you talk about emotional blackmail, you can actually mitigate harms. That's why we say that the schools are there to help the students, and there are also other institutions which address these kinds of parents, who want to hurt their children or want to influence their children in a biased manner. So in my speech, I'll talk about how undermining gender roles promotes the value of holistic learning. And second, how it actually shapes mindsets and lessening social tensions. And I will talk about the role of the educational institution in this issue. First, let's talk about how it changed mindset. According to opening opposition, it's holistic learning for them, because they have this template of values that you need to follow at the end of the day. What we say, it's actually limited, because you do not get out of the box, you do not explore more what other potentials you can do. For instance, a female wants to take up engineering and mechanics, and the society says that no, that course is not for you. Or males want to actually enter theater, dancing, or dramas. We say that it shows more incompetence. It sends a message that you are incompetent in this field, that you cannot be in this field because you're female and because you're male. Therefore, their holistic argument is actually debunked at the end of the day, and we got that on that issue. Moreover, we say we actually want by deterring these kinds of gender roles, we actually lead to self-actualization, and we say that it's actually necessary for a particular society to progress at the end of the day. And there's a value in this kind of proposal that we want to instill something in the society through the schools. And now I'll talk about how educational institutions are important. Our opening talk about the role of the state on how it's in line with the interest. We'll try to look at a very, very important stakeholders too, the educational institutions, which are bridges for the students, and they are bridges to the political arena, to the economic arena, and whatnot. We say that we will try to fulfill their role and responsibility in actually molding these kinds of students. Like when a student is very conscious of his gender roles, he cannot blend in society. According to our OG analysis, is that once they cannot blend in society, they cannot interact. Then maybe or someday they become bigots or they become homophobes. Moreover, we say that as an educational institution, we need to address these kinds of problems. We need to address a greater problem, let's say isolation or further social tensions that these kinds of gender roles may cause. We say that it affects how they will behave in the workplace, how they will behave in their career, and moreover, it affects the productivity of this particular individual and may affect also the productivity when they are already in the workplace with certain discriminative environment. That's why we want to eradicate later, madam. We want to eradicate that mindset. And that's actually a perfect segue for my third argument. Third argument is how we mold mindsets and how we allow people to get out of the box, to get out of that common template, to get out of that common thinking. We say OG talk about how it changes, how they want to change pre-existing values. Later, sir, in our side, we will try to materialize that kind of idea. How do we mold mindset? Because we think it's our long-term goal. Because we say we erase starting in schools, we erase that kind of stigma or in the human psyche that boys are for this career and girls are for this career. Because we do not want to give a template to gender roles in society. We want to change the calculus of things and how gender roles and other societies interact with each other. Yes, it may be difficult at the start, but we were willing to take the first step. Next is that by changing that mindset, we allow people to look out of the box. We allow people to look about new ideas, new forms of thinking that may be helpful for a progressive society at the end of the day. Because although there may be backlashes or social tensions, but we believe it would be lesser in our side because we actually minimize. In our side, we will still minimize the violence and abuses happening to these people, and we're actually catering to these individuals who are suffering from these kinds of situations.